Hello, my name is George Wanamaker. I'm a physical therapist at Presbyterian Village, and this is a continuing series on back care and maintenance. The topic for today is how body weight and particular body mass can impact your back, whether it's actual structural changes to your back or the force of gravity acting on that mass, causing compression of some pain-causing structures. So real quickly, I just want to review the anatomy of the back. I've borrowed all these images from just searching Google Images. But the spine essentially has four parts. There's the neck, which is the cervical region. That's the top that goes to roughly where your collarbone's at. There's the thoracic spine, which is the middle region. There's the lumbar spine, which typically people have the most trouble with. And then there's the bottom, which is well, there's really five. So there's the sacrum and the coccyx, which people typically don't have as much problems with these areas unless there's some underlying arthritic condition or something. But usually the lower, sort of mid to lower back, the lumbar region is where people have problems. And particularly if you've got a large body mass, the anatomy of your lumbar spine, the lower region, the discs are designed to be a little bit thicker, a little bit bigger, and the spine itself, the vertebra, are bigger in size and they have more deposits of calcium and other minerals so that they can be sturdy and support your upper body mass and allow for movement. Unfortunately, there's sort of a threshold to how much mass that the body can take, and if you're overweight or have poor health habits, you're putting a lot of pressure and a lot of strain on a system that may not have been designed to support that much. So we'll go sort of through that. Let me find. So this is just general of the low back, the lumbar region. There's five basic stacked elements, the vertebra, and then there's the sacrum down here, which is attaching to your pelvis. But as you can see, the bones, they're relatively big. I mean, they're approximately that big. I mean, they're not huge, but they're the biggest ones in the back, other than the sacrum, which is a bunch of fused bones, because they have to support your body mass, your upper body, your head, your brain, your abdominal viscera, like all your organs. They have to support everything, so they need to be a little bit bigger and a little bit more robust. But unfortunately, over time, and especially if there's somebody is overweight and has excess body mass, it can lead to a breakdown of these structures. And this picture too, you can see there's the discs, which are not bone, but they're more gel fluid-like structures. They have some viscosity to them, but they also have a tough outer ring that allows for the parts to be contained. And then you've got nerve roots coming out either side, and these nerves can be easily compressed if these foramen, these areas that are open, are pushed on, which unfortunately can happen if you have excess body mass and body weight, and the force of gravity is providing a force down. We also have to talk about what's called a facet joint. So between each vertebra, each stacked element, is an articulation, an actual joint. As you can, hopefully you can see this picture, it's a joint, it's got an articular surface that allows for moving from one vertebra on another, and then there's actually a little tiny joint capsule which holds everything in place. This is a very important element, the facet joint, because it allows for good fluid movement, whether it's twisting or whether it's going up and down. These need to be healthy. And unfortunately, over time and through excess body mass, the force of gravity acting through your body can put a lot of pressure on these joints. leading to structural changes and actual breakdown of the joints, making it painful, but also making it a lot harder to move. So if we're conscious of our posture, we're conscious of our body mass, we're not putting as much compressive strain to these joints between each vertebra, these facet joints, and they're not as readily going to lock up or lead to bone spurring or some other structural changes, so we can move more freely and you're not having the pain. I've included this picture because the back is very, very layered. As you can see, there's deep muscles and there's superficial muscles. But my reasoning for including this picture is your spine is sort of the central axis for everything. And there's various attachments and muscle points. But all these muscles, particularly in the upper back, are helpful for maintaining upright posture, maintaining good alignment, being able to breathe. And this is obviously the back portion. If you've got excess body mass, and typically we tend to accumulate fat and other deposits on the front surface and in the viscera, like the abdomen region, which unfortunately, if you imagine your spine as an axis or as a fulcrum, you can go one way or you can go the other. But if you've got too much force on one direction, gravity is gonna pull you in that way, which in turn is gonna overwork all of these muscle groups in the back. One, compressing and straining them, causing pain. Compressing is the wrong word, but straining them, causing pain. They become overworked, and then they can't support the spine as well, which eventually down the road leads to actual structural changes of the back, because instead of being good upright posture, your posture is more flexed because your muscles can't support, they fatigue and they can't maintain good connections within the fibers to maintain your body upright, which then can lead to spinal structural changes. This is another picture just showing the nerve roots, the facet joints. So if there's spurring on the facet joints, it can actually occasionally put pressure on some of these nerves. Also, the discs between the joints, through excess time being subjected to the compressive force of gravity, can flatten out, can strain, can even bulge or herniate, leading to pressure on these nerves as well, and leading to loss of movement, loss of mobility. If you can understand, the point I'm getting at is that if you've got too much body weight and too much excess mass, there are forces acting on your body, particularly gravity, that your body is not designed to overcome. It's designed to overcome a little bit, but the system fails if the threshold has been reached. So you really need to be conscious about dietary habits and getting good exercise, getting mobility during the day, so that you can stand upright, so that you can allow those muscles to have a good sustained connection and not fatigued. So this picture just shows sort of the closer approximation of the facet joints, the nerve roots coming out. These nerves are coming from your spinal cord, which travels down from your brain, and then the actual vertebra, the bony parts, and the discs in between. When we talk about the viscera, because I've mentioned that word a couple times, viscera meaning in this context, all your fatty deposits in your stomach, like not stomach, but within your abdomen, your organs, your deep other supportive tissues of your body. One of the important roles of your abdominal musculature is maintaining and containing that viscera within your body. One, so that everything can function properly, getting good blood flow, but also to prevent excessive strain on your bones and your musculature. And I've included this picture of your general abdominal musculature. Again, everything is layered, but there's an external layer and there's an internal layer. And the reason I've included this picture is because you can see there's rib attachments and there's close approximation with the spine back here behind. And this musculature, if it's weak and if you've got excess body mass here in the front, it's going to put a lot of strain on this abdominal musculature. And occasionally there's a point where the collagen and the elastin and all the fibers within the muscles and within the fascia can't contain all the abdominal viscera, your organs, your fat deposits and everything. And it's eventually going to overspill, and the force of gravity is going to pull you forward. It's also going to cause a compressive force through your spine trying to overcome the force of gravity, and it can't, which pulls everything forward, which leads higher up in the chain around your neck to structural changes, meaning more forward head, meaning more of a humped posture to your thoracic spine, your upper spine, which then down the road, your lumbar spine can't contain the forces as much. So it leads to pain down the road. And your lumbar spine, as we talked about early on in this lecture, has to support everything. And it can only do as much as it's designed to do. And eventually there's a fail point to where either your discs are getting damaged, or your nerves are getting pushed on, or the actual bone is having to change its alignment in response to a stress. So this having good, strong core and abdominal musculature is very, very important in low back health, low back pain, for keeping everything contained, keeping good posture, keeping your abdominal viscera and your fat where it's supposed to be. So where's my other picture? So I found this picture. I thought this was good. This is a good visual of what obesity can do to your low back, and particularly the forces. Again, I just Google searched for overweight and low back pain, and this image came up. But what you can see, this is supposed to be, imagine this is the force of gravity acting through your body. So you have a linear force acting through your body, which then, if you've got excess body mass higher up the chain, it's going to put a lot of strain and pressure and compressive force on particularly these facet joints, like we talked about. But it's going to impact your spine and the curvature of your spine. You're going to put a lot of strain and a lot of force on these discs and the vertebra, and a lot of force on these facet joints. And unfortunately, again, like I said, if you can imagine your spine as an axis, and if you've got too much force on one side of the axis, it's going to pull everything forward, because the force of gravity is constantly acting on your body, and your abdominal musculature can't contain everything. There's a point of failure to where there's the fibers and all the elastin and the collagen just get strained, so they can't sustain everything. But also in the back, there's a similar thing that's happening. So your posture ends up getting more flexed and compressed. So ideally, you would be, within reason, be mobile, be active, have good dietary choices, making sure when appropriate, you have the right amount of fats. I'm not saying don't have any fat, because some fats you need to metabolize for energy and fuel, but just making good choices, thinking of overall wellness, trying to walk daily. If you can't walk, trying to do something mobile, whether it's stretching, whether it's working on core strengthening, something to keep your bone health and your muscle health within order, and to make sure that gravity is not pulling excessively on areas where normally your body would be able to overcome the force because of the natural strength of the muscle. So dietary habits, good mobility, good daily walking, good stretching are all essential elements. But this lecture in focus is about being over, not necessarily even obesity, but just a little bit being overweight, how that can impact the forces that act on your spine and can cause pain in your low back. So it may be something, so say you have low back pain, and it may not be something that's, necessarily wrong. It's just something that can, with lifestyle changes, can be corrected. And you may actually, there's actually a lot of positive evidence for weight loss and impacting low back pain positively. That's all. Again, my name is George Wanamaker. I'm one of the physical therapists at Presbyterian Village, and this is a continuing series on back care and maintenance. Thank you.